I heard the dunk contest was like it wasn't good.
Nobody. I mean, it's a 3-point shootout now.
Yeah. Anyways, well, welcome everybody to episode 12 or week 12 of the Film Planet podcast. And this week you got your host Nadal,
Jamal.
and we're going to be breaking down our thoughts and review of the Black Panther film, which I think everyone and their mother was pretty much excited for. Um, and then we also have a smaller thing. The Incredibles 2 trailer came out, which I think was on your top 10, right?
I wanted it to be. Didn't get
It
to
was
see a
honorable
trailer.
mention. It was
Yeah,
honorable
it was
mention.
honorable
Yeah.
mention. I didn't get to see a
But
trailer.
yeah, so we're gonna break down. We're gonna talk about that trailer for a little bit, but the bulk of this episode is gonna be all about Black Panther, just a review of it, our thoughts on it, and you know what kind of film and what it kind of represents as a whole. Other than that, let's get right into it. So let's go ahead and talk about the Incredibles 2 trailer. So I know that was something you were looking forward to, so you lead off with
I liked it.
it.
I mean, I liked it.
What did you like about
It
it?
was a teaser trailer. It just
Well, yeah.
it's cool to see the Parr family again. I
And,
mean,
mhm.
and I like the fact that it kind of did. It seems like it's doing the first one in reverse, where the Mrs. Fantastic, she's going out doing the crime fighting while he's staying home tending to the children,
Mhm.
and he's dealing with the superheroics of parenthood, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I thought it was cool, and I mean Samuel L. Jackson is like ranch dressing; he makes everything better. So yeah, I
um,
liked it.
yeah, I was really wondering what kind of story they were going to go with. Obviously, that trailer gave it a pretty clear direction, so I thought that was cool. It seems to be like there's a guy who wants superheroes to come back, so he's well funded and he's given them the means to do so. So it's just a little interesting. I mean, obviously, I think everyone's going to go see it. It'll probably make a lot of money.
I think it's a
It's
dark horse $1 billion movie. I don't
Yeah.
think it's the guarantee. I think that's Jurassic World,
Oh yeah.
Infinity War, and Star Wars Han Solo.
Oh
I
yeah.
think those are the three if you had to be a betting man.
Yeah.
But it's a dark horse billion movie.
Anytime you factor in a kids type movie that also appeals to an older audience at the same time, it's
And anticipation is crazy for this
exactly
movie. Like,
because people kind of forgot about it, and then they sent it
I
like a
don't
little.
think nobody ever forgot about the Incredibles. And people always said
Well,
we get in like sequels of Toy Story, even Monsters Inc. I don't know why that movie had a sequel. Cars, seriously.
that is something someone
But
forgot about.
everybody's like, we're getting Cars, but we're not getting the Incredibles.
Yeah.
So
I mean, maybe they were waiting for the MCU to be a little bit more prominent to release a
no, they
superhero
weren't.
flick.
No,
I don't
they
know.
weren't.
It's
The Incredibles was the best superhero movie ever made, in my opinion, before the MCU really kicked in.
Okay.
It came out in 2004.
Yeah.
Dark Knight didn't come out to 2008. To me, The Incredibles was the
Wow.
best superhero movie until
It's really been that long.
Christopher Nolan and the MCU came along. In my mind, The Incredibles was the best superhero movie
All right.
ever made to that point. So
I could actually agree with that because people are like, the thought of a comic film being good wasn't even
I know my stuff. Yeah.
With that being said, I mean, I'm excited for it. It's I think we're gonna go see it no matter what. It looks fun. It looks funny. And I like to see that aspect of the big strong guy is now like kind of getting bested by a little baby. I think that's
Yeah.
gonna lend itself to some really funny moments throughout the movie. But now let's get straight into I think what you and I have been itching to talk about for the last 24 hours because we saw the movie yesterday, Black Panther, and as always, what was your hot take on it?
I mean, I think it's one of the best comic book movies ever made. Top 5 MCU film.
Yeah.
I'm still digesting and may move up, but right now, top 5 MCU film. I'll say top 15 comic book movie all time. Top
Okay.
10. Top 10.
Top 10. Okay, that's interesting. Now, I mean, I'm kind of in the same wheelhouse as you, and I liked it a lot. It had that typical Marvel formula where it combined that action drama with a little bit of humor, but then it had its own take on that on each aspect of that.
Yeah.
So it's the same formula, but it was from a very different perspective, which no one is used to at all. I don't think, but it was something that I thoroughly enjoyed. The action it was fun. The humor was good. The supporting cast, in my opinion, was the backbone of that film. Like they made it better than what it was. Was some of the supporting characters in that movie. Not just your protagonist and antagonist, Killmonger and T'Challa, but like Okoye, um,
Koye.
Okoye, sorry, Shuri, things like they like really carried that movie. Like when they were in scenes, they took over. Like they were acting a lot of those people under the table, in my opinion.
I mean, the supporting cast was the best in the MCU film.
Yeah. Oh, by far.
The only one I could think of that may come close is um Guardians. Guardians,
Yeah.
the first Guardians had a good supporting team.
Oh yeah. And then
But
I don't really think there's even another one. There's not even like a top three for it. Like it's those two
nah,
really. Like it's
nah,
just
like
there's this one that's so far
and
above the
that's the
rest.
best. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Um, and then of course you have actually I'm just gonna get right into it. Let's talk about Killmonger. We'll kind of get into the story, his motivations, things like that later on and throughout the review. But I want to specifically talk about Killmonger because the stuff I'm reading online is that this man is the best MCU villain to date and the best comic book villain to date. What are your thoughts on that?
best comic book movie villain to date. Is he the best we've seen in a while?
Yes.
But to date, I just can't. I don't. I can't put him up there with Heath Ledger's Joker. Like
Yeah.
I just um I it was refreshing because the MCU has a huge villain problem.
Yeah.
So it was refreshing to see a villain that actually works and stand out on the screen and is not forgotten because you remember Killmonger and
Oh yeah.
his motivations. But I mean, people saying he up there with Heath Ledger's Joker. I mean, nah, bro. And that's not a knock. Heath Ledger's Joker, that's a once in a lifetime performance. Tom Hiddleston as Loki, that's a once in a lifetime character. So that's not an insult. I mean, the fact that people put him in that realm is pretty good, but actually better than them, nah.
Yeah. He he wasn't bad at all. He was memorable, like you said. He felt like a very strong presence. Like he felt like a bad guy
Mm-hmm.
that could do a lot of harm.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of problems with not even comic book movies. A lot of times, villains in Hollywood, the protagonist is gonna win. And with Killmonger, the way the pacing and how they introduced him and how he eventually took over was very well done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give an example. You didn't really see like a whole lot of him other than small little snippets here and there from the beginning and the middle of the movie, and then like the last 20 minutes is when he took over, and everyone was just like, okay, this guy's the leader now. We have to do what he says. We're sitting out weapons to the spies. It was just like the nation was behind his motive all of a sudden. And I understand, yes,
Well,
we have
not
to,
all the nation,
not
man.
all of it, but I'm saying for the most part, his motives were to essentially free black people from systematic oppression throughout the world and say, hey, we're a black people that are thriving. We have the technology to make sure that all black people around the world will thrive with us. Why aren't we doing anything about it? Why are we letting them suffer knowingly? Um, and there's a lot to be said about should they help, why they should help, etc. Things like that. If you have the power, what are you supposed to do with it? Um, but I think it was more his methods that they didn't agree with rather than his motive. I think I think everyone doesn't deny his motive is wrong, but the method about going about that is wrong.
Well, like they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah.
And I was seeing online a lot of people were saying he just had misguided righteousness. First and foremost, there's no such thing as misguided righteousness.
Mm-hmm.
When you use the word righteous, right is in the word.
Mm-hmm.
It means doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So was his motivation, did he have good intentions that maybe went wrong? Yes. But you can't say he's righteous.
Yeah.
No.
Now, the second part of that is a lot of his second motivation was his he wanted revenge for his father and what happened to him, you know, because he felt he was exiled, which you said in the comics he originally was exiled from Wakanda.
Yeah.
And like you said, they kind of flipped it on its head a little bit. They kind of changed things around, and he felt his father was exiled, which that opening scene, he was essentially going to be exiled. But when T'Challa's father killed him, and they revealed, you know, the little kid was down there playing basketball. He saw his father dead, and he found his father's notepads and notes about Wakanda and why he was there in the first place. Because remember, him and his father have the same mission, and they were essentially going about it the same way. Remember, they were talking. They had assault rifles, and they were going to be doing something. They were playing. There something was being planned.
It's
obviously.
nationalism.
Yeah.
Versus,
isolate, or what's the word for it?
Isolationism.
Yeah.
But yeah. I was what I was gonna say is the movie touched on a lot of themes in a clever ways. Like, it also, something I don't hear a lot of people talk about in the Black Panther movie is in the black community. Me being a black man, I know this. Killmonger was almost a representation of what we perceive as a tough black man.
Yeah.
You know, like a tough, and then T'Challa's kind of view weak in a way. We look at that as it's almost toxic masculinity. That affects the black community where we're afraid to express our emotions. But T'Challa, on the other hand, he showed love, compassion, and ultimately those things is what ultimately made him stronger than Killmonger. Because at first Killmonger seemed stronger because, you know, growing up in America, you know, black men has been held down so much that it's kind of like we're scared to show our emotions and feelings. And you can tell Killmonger, he never really opened up and showed his feelings and emotion, the hurt he had for his father passing and being abandoned by Wakanda, so forth. So he just turned it to anger. T'Challa channeled his anger and turned it to love and compassion.
Yeah.
And so it's a good lesson about how we as black men handle things.
Yeah.
And rolling into that, what do you think about the black women in the movie? I thought the women was fantastic.
I think I leaned over you at one point, like more than one point really, but with Adania Guerrera, otherwise known as Michonne for people who aren't familiar with it, just so you can kind of connect the character. Walking Dead. I think I leaned over you. I was like, at one point I was like, bruh, she needs her own movie. Like, and I normally don't get into that kind of stuff. Talking about this guy needs his own movie and that guy needs his own movie. But I was sitting there just listening to it like, this woman is stealing every scene. Not just because she was a badass. Not just because of that. She just seems more complicated. She was fighting with her oath to protect the throne, not the king's necessarily. You know, her job is to protect the throne. But at the same time, she owes a duty to her people to make sure that the leader that's in power is the right one. And you can see her fighting with that when Killmonger eventually took over. And even one of the other, what are they called? The warriors?
Dora Milaje.
The Dora Milaje kind of, is there nothing that we can do about this? When Killmonger was putting hands on T'Challa. But they killed it. Shuri was another one that she stood out for me. She was like the most colorful character out of all of them.
Yeah.
She was funny, smart, and she was able to cut down T'Challa when he needed it the most. You know, whenever he might have been a little too prideful or something like that, she would cut him down only like a little sister could.
Yeah.
And that was a good balance to have that there, is that, yes, he's the king, but he's surrounded by strong women. His queen, his mother, Shuri, his sister, Okoye. I'm I'm sorry, I'm messing up her name. But and then what's the other one? His love,
Nakia.
Nakia, who also was between. Do I? She kind of agreed with Killmonger in a way. She didn't say it openly, but if you listen throughout the movie, the ideals that she wanted were the same as Killmonger. They obviously just had two very different ways of going about it. She wanted to
No,
go.
but see, no. She didn't want the same as Killmonger.
Well, she
She
wanted to help the
wanted
people.
she wanted to open up Wakanda to help people in general.
That's what I'm saying.
No, he didn't want to help
Oh,
people.
that's right.
He
He just
wanted
wanted to
to
help.
overthrow.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. He wanted to be like, oh, white people held us our oppressors. They didn't say white people because you know it's Disney.
They call them colonizers.
Yeah, colonizers. They tried to play innocent, but white people. That's what he was referencing to. He wanted to pay white people back. Y'all oppressed us. Now we gonna oppress you.
It's our time for
It's our obligation to oppress you. So no, they didn't want the same. In a way they did, but like in the comics, she gets brainwashed by him.
Yeah.
And she actually becomes his love interest for a temporary time and abandons T'Challa.
Well, now that you say that,
interesting tidbit.
Yeah. Well, now that you say that, that's actually very interesting because, like, while their interests might not be the same, you can see how she might be brainwashed by his interests because hers is he could lie and say your goal is achieved by achieving my goal.
Yes.
Which true, not true, but you get the like you can see how in the comics that's something that can be molded very easily by someone as strong as he is.
And then a lot of people is comparing it to Martin and Malcolm, and you know, kind of like the T'Challa's the Martin Luther King to Killmonger's Malcolm X, but I disagree with that. I almost compare it to like Marcus Garvey to Nat Turner. Like Marcus Garvey wanted to go back to Africa, leave these white people where they stand. Let's get off this continent that they colonize us on, and let's start a new and better Africa.
Yeah.
And Nat Turner was like, no, they need to pay. We gonna butcher everything any means necessary. When people compare, I don't look at it as a Martin Malcolm. I look at more as a Marcus Garvey, Nat Turner.
Yeah, exactly. And then to kind of get back to those female characters, when I was talking about earlier in the podcast that supporting cast was very strong. In my mind, when I say supporting cast, I'm talking about those female characters, the mother, the sister, the love interest, his general, the leader of his guards. They make up that throne, that circle of power. Yes, there is the leader of each of the tribes, but I think ultimately T'Challa will come to them. Say, hey, what do I do right here? You know, you're the best warrior in Wakanda. How do I approach this? You're my general. You know, you're the spy. You have the heartbeat of the people. What's in their best interest? Sure, you know, you're the youngest of us all. You have an access to the youth that we as older people of power might not be able to access.
And she's a genius.
She's a genius, but she's younger, and she's out of all of them, she would be considered the hip one. You know?
Yeah.
And just from the way she dressed and everything, and she was very reluctant to the traditional ways. Because T'Challa made a comment, I'm just interested to see how you're going to modify your royal garment for the ceremony. So each character was very different and was almost like a different part of personality for T'Challa. They were what made up the personality of T'Challa.
T'Challa, right?
They're the personality of the throne. They're the voices behind the power. And it was just that's what when I say supporting cast, I really am talking about those people specifically. Is because for me, they led that movie. Like they really did. Because T'Challa wasn't a traditional king that, you know, in most superhero films like that, the new guy's in, he's going to start changing things. He very much wanted to keep that status quo, you know, from the beginning to the middle of the movie. It wasn't until Killmonger showed up, he's like, okay, the status quo is not enough anymore. Right. Something has to happen. So it is an interesting aspect that was told, not necessarily through dialogue, but through visually telling it and having other characters speak prominently throughout the movie to voice his opinion.
Yeah, and you could tell it took a lot of inspiration from The Lion King.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it also took a lot of inspiration from The Dark Knight Rises. Because that scene where Killmonger and him was fighting, and he was putting hands on T'Challa.
Yeah,
it reminded me of the scene where Catwoman was watching Bane you know,
Just
tear up
tear up Batman.
tear up
I remember
Batman,
that.
and
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, you take darkness as your ally," you know. So it was kind of like, yeah. But speaking of that, what I liked about it, what I liked what Ryan Coogler did, he made a lot of he put a lot of a weightier subject. And then most Marvel movies, I think the only one that kind of had a subject as weighty as that is probably the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Like,
No. No, I actually saying, but no, elaborate though.
like what I'm saying is, the other MCU movies outside of Winter Soldier, they felt like a cog in machine. Some of them, Ant-Man didn't either. Ant-Man didn't either.
Ant-Man dealt with
But
some
it
different
didn't.
things.
But it didn't have the weight that
It
that
dealt with a
Winter.
different issue, but it
But
was
Black
nowhere
Panther,
near the
yeah,
issue. I see what you're
Black
saying.
Panther and Winter
Yeah.
Soldier had. Most of them feel like cog in machine. Sometimes very entertaining, very well made, very good cog
Nothing
in
wrong
machine.
with a blockbuster.
But what I'm saying is, out of all those movies, I feel like Black Panther first, then Winter Soldier, then Ant-Man. All three of these movies could stand alone. Like, if they weren't a part of the MCU, I would still look at that like, man, that's a great movie.
Yeah.
You know, so Ron Coogler did such an excellent job to and still not take away from the action and the things that make Marvel Marvel.
Yeah.
Like the little corny, I mean, that what are those was kind of cringeworthy though.
Oh.
Where she was like, "What are those?" I'm
Yeah,
like,
that one I was like,
that was kind of forced.
I think you and I both were like, oh.
That one was kind of forced. And I'll tell you another one that was kind of forced, but it was kind of awkward and funny in an awkward way. Is when Claw, Andy Serkis character, was like, "You gonna check out my new mixtape?" I was like,
It became a bit.
yeah,
Like it went like it didn't end there. It kind of kept
SoundCloud.
going.
I'm
It
like,
kind of like, whoa, there was a lot of dialogue.
I think it was hard for me to take it serious because these guys played in the Hobbit movies where they talk in more of a proper English, and you know, so they talking. So the fact that they were talking about a mixtape and stuff like that, it just kind of threw me off.
It's funny, yeah. But no, that's Claw's another great character, by the way.
Yeah,
but I don't even know if that was really Claw or if it was just Andy Serkis. The man brings something to each character he plays.
Here's what's crazy. Claw is, I'm not trying to sound like a comic book elitist people. I'm just trying to throw stuff out there to play into the movie.
Yeah.
Claw is actually the main antagonist of T'Challa, and he actually kills T'Chaka in the comics.
Really?
Yeah, Claw kills T'Chaka.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's interesting to see them have Killmonger kill him.
Yeah, in a very unceremonious way.
And I'm like, man, guess, you know, me as a comic guy, I know most people's like, okay, whatever. But me as a comic guy, I'm like, it was kind of like the Iron Man 3 thing with the Mandarin. You know, it's kind of, so at first,
you say this all the time. No, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's like the Iron Man 3 thing with the Mandarin.
Yeah.
So.
You almost didn't, but you say this all the time because you always check me on it. We technically never saw him die on the screen.
Yeah, we never saw him die on the screen.
We saw him got shot once.
Yeah.
And then they cut to Killmonger and he put 2 taps in him.
I got a theory of that too.
But yeah.
But I'll say that for Infinity War.
Infinity War, because that theory might hold a little bit more water to it later on. I also don't know what his theory is, so I'll be listening to it for the first time come podcast. But no, he was a really great character. He was funny. Like just Andy Serkis' little quirks that he adds to certain characters, and they bring him to life, man. Like I don't want to talk because this isn't an Andy Serkis review, but it's just he's a character that stood out. He was a top 3. He's a top 4 character in that movie. No, top 7 because, like I said, that supporting cast was like he was up there, and he wasn't really in it that much. But it's just when he was there, he took over the scene.
I think it was
It's a lot to be said about that because we really don't praise a lot of supporting cast. We do praise them, but we don't ever say they took over a scene and made a movie better. Because sometimes the supporting cast, they're just there, they support.
Right.
But in this particular movie, Ryan Coogler, the way he wrote that supporting cast, that's really not the right terminology calling them supporting cast. Because they really carried that film even in the parts where it dragged. They brought it. They added more character to the overall thing. So, which I liked, and something to kind of talk about because I don't want to get too off topic with what you said though, dealing with that heavier kind of message. is they handled a very sensitive subject in a very amazing way that I think made it very clear,
Accessible.
made it accessible, presented the facts very quickly and very easily for people to understand. Because I think a lot of the times when people try to express any form of racism towards a people, and this is what's happening to us. Look, I'm trying to. There's always that emotional aspect behind it, so you get angry when people don't understand you, and it's kind of like Ryan Coogler sat back and said, "I can't not deliver this message. I have to deliver it, but I need to do it in the right way." And I'm happy that Kevin Feige and co were like, "Have at it, like it," and just delivered a very sensitive subject in a very good way that brought it to light. For I promise you, some people are going to be like, "Is that just in the movie or is that real?" Everything they said in that movie, within reason, obviously, because it's comic book movie, that does happen. That really does happen. If you're someone who's black, you are treated very differently from the justice system and by other people.
Right.
There's no one that represents them in a positive light. And this movie represented black people in a very positive light, and it gave them an outlet to see this is what we were talking about. Do you see what I'm saying now? And I think that's very good for the world to see.
Right.
It's very good for the world to see. So I'm happy they did that.
To the more technical side, the costume work is some of the best Marvel's ever done in a comic book movie, period. I mean, the Dora Milaje outfits were fantastic.
That armor?
That armor, that gold, how it played into the red. The Black Panther suit, when it wasn't CGI'd. When it wasn't, sometimes that CGI was kind of...
And the green screen work. Oh.
Yeah, some of the green screen, like that part where when he first fought M'Baku, who's another great supporting character.
Yep.
He forgot about M'Baku.
There's a lot.
Yeah, M'Baku was fire.
Yeah.
But that scene where he was about to fight M'Baku, who challenged the kingship.
The first ceremony, yeah.
I mean, it looked like you ever seen Tales from the Hood?
Yeah.
And the little sleigh dolls.
It looked bad.
That's what it looked like.
It looked like a bunch of different people who were wearing a different colored uniform, all doing the exact same motion, but they were next to each other. Like, so if someone was dancing this way, the other one would be dancing this way.
But
it was.
But like I said, outside of that,
that's a nitpick. That's not a knock on it.
Wakanda fully realized technically is. One more nitpick. Outside of that Korea scene, the casino Korea scene, action scene. Man, that first action scene when he was saving the Kia.
Oh, when they're the convoy
saving the Kia. That was, man, that editing was bad, bro.
Also, another thing, they attacked that convoy so she could be at a ceremony. He broke.
No.
Well,
yeah,
he went after
but she was trying to liberate people from sex trafficking.
Which they did. They achieved that goal, by the way. Those people were set free. But I'm just saying, it was just like a.
Right.
It was a weird way to introduce the character that way,
I thought it was cool because she was supposed to be a spy, and it was showing her helping outside of.
She wasn't suffering. She wasn't in trouble.
Yeah, but they were showing her helping outside of Wakanda, and I guess it was showing the elitism. Now he wants to help because he wants Nakia there. So it was showing the elitism of the country, and here these women are about to be sex trafficked.
Would he have done anything?
So Ryan Coogler pieced it together, man. Hey, homie's one of the best up and coming directors today.
He's 27, 31 years old.
Still young.
The
sky the limit.
Creed, Fruitvale Station. The man's 3 for 3.
Yeah.
The man is he's shooting 100% right now.
I'll tell you something else that made me think about Black Panther. What I took out of the movie, and I was thinking about this with Ryan Coogler, and this is where I feel like Hollywood has to do better. Everybody, Star Wars is my favorite franchise. I'm a diehard Star Wars fan. George Lucas has created generational wealth from Star Wars. Steven Spielberg from his movies have created generational wealth. Michael Bay, who has only made, 3 good movies in his life, has created generational wealth from his movies. Ryan Coogler rejuvenated a franchise nobody cared about anymore in Rocky. And
amazing.
He made the most right now on pace to be the most successful Marvel origin film. Basically, most successful Marvel film ever outside of the Avengers. And who's gonna get most of the benefit from that? Stallone. He got his first ever Oscar nomination, Best Supporting Actor. And
they almost gave the credit to Stallone for revitalizing for Creed.
Yeah.
And he didn't really.
That's what I'm saying.
He produced it.
And look who's gonna benefit from that Marvel movie, Bob Iger and.
Well, and this isn't defensive of anybody. To the outside world, they get the benefit, but in the inside world, does he get Black Panther without Creed? Does he get Black Panther without Fruitvale Station? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
From the industry standpoint, they're like, oh, Ryan Coogler is a moneymaker.
Right.
He makes great films. But from like a casual fan standpoint, the outside world, the people who aren't very familiar with the inside workings of Hollywood might be like, oh, that's Stallone's Creed movie. You know what I mean? They don't get caught up on who the writer and director are.
I understand what you're saying, but at the end of the day, what I'm saying is some of these directors are creating generational wealth, bro, off their work. Ryan Coogler has made two of the best movies in the past 2 years. Yeah. 2016 to 18. Yeah. And I guarantee you he ain't getting paid as much as.
I see what you're saying. So
right.
Other people are getting the credit where he should be because it could be leading to a legend in the making.
Right.
Which, in my opinion, he is a legend in the making.
He's a legend in the making,
his
and I think
people's so early. I
think people's downplaying. I mean, it's hard to come out the box and make a Creed and Black Panther, bro. Like the dude,
every single one of his movies dealt with a very heavy subject matter.
The dude is putting in work, bro. He made a blockbuster with content that's not a Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or Hunger Games. Like he made a I mean, yeah,
I see.
Homie's exactly on his stuff, man.
He's on point, and more power to him. I can't wait to see what else he does.
And it's gonna get to a point with me. Don't throw shade at me, everybody. But it's gonna get to a point with me when a director's that good, I don't like him having to share his vision with big studios. Like he has to work with a group of people on the MCU.
He's constrained.
He's getting to the point like I view a Christopher Nolan or Spielberg. I don't even want them to touch comic book movies. Make your own films, bruh. And that's how I'm looking at him now. If he don't come back for Black Panther 2, I wouldn't even be mad because I know he got something else better and great in mind.
Yeah. Which I think I would, like you said, you're like me. I think you and I are both very similar in this. We like those people who have a very artistic vision, who are very smart when it comes to that, who are kind of, he's not even a genius. He's just very in tune with what people want, a generation want. He's just in tune, like Spielberg.
His youth plays a factor in that.
His youth plays a factor. Where he grew up plays a factor. I remember 2016, 2015 Comic-Con when they first introduced Black Panther, like the trailer to us. He came up on stage and he's like, man, I remember sitting all the way in the back here in Hall H, and he just kind of talked about like, now I'm directing one of Marvel's biggest movies. Mm-hmm. He's like, Black Panther in a lot of ways is the culmination of all his hard work, but it's also the opportunity for him to start doing what he wants to do.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for it
because he's teasing him. Him and Michael B. Jordan was talking about doing a movie about Mansa Musa. It's like the richest black. It was supposed to be the wealthiest black man ever.
Yeah. So I mean, he's done what, 3 movies now with Michael B. Jordan?
Yeah, they kind of got the DiCaprio, Scorsese.
Which is not a bad thing, by the way.
They kind of got that director.
Yeah, like, hey, I'm doing this job. You interested in it?
Yeah,
you want to come read for it?
Go to.
Yeah.
And I think, I got to say something else. Daniel Kaluuya, who played T'Challa's best friend, and he played in Get Out. I made a joke in the movie. I was like, the reason he sided with Killmonger, the homie went to the sunken place. Of course he gonna side with Killmonger. He was like, man, you don't know what these white folks capable of.
That just reminded me whenever Shuri called Martin Freeman's character. She's like, oh, don't sneak up on me like that, colonizer.
Nah, what's funny about that movie is a lot of, I know I could tell a lot of, because we were around a lot of white people when we was watching it.
One kept
I
kicking
could
my chair.
I could tell one, and I ain't saying white people like whoa white people. I'm just saying it was a lot of white people around. So they took offense to a joke. That goes to show you a lot of people don't watch all the MCU movies, because it was a joke that Shuri said where she was like, "Oh, I gotta fix another broken white boy." And I saw them around kind of get kind of agitated or uncomfortable, and I don't think they understood she wasn't coming at white people. She was talking about the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes,
Yeah,
and from Civil War.
because
So
you got to remember, there's people in there who probably completely forgot about that character.
yeah,
So, but for all the like the bigger fans in there that of the MCU specifically, they all like, oh, that's funny.
yeah.
But no, I mean that's this week's episode. I think we both overall liked it. You know, like I said, we don't put a lot of numbers, but just for everyone else, kind of put on a scale 1 to 10. What do you give that movie?
9.1 out of 10.
Me, I was gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Sorry. So we're in the same thing there. Really, that point is honestly is the CG part and kind of small little things that Killmonger did that I was like that just sent a little over the top. That kind of not killed it for me, but kind of like took me out of it for a little bit. But no, that's this week's episode of the Film Planet podcast. We'll be back next week with our reviews for Mute and Annihilation.
Our favorite genre, sci-fi.
Sci-fi, yep.
So we might get a little more geek. You see the super geek side of us on these two movies.
Yeah, we'll have fun with that. Especially since Annihilation's number 2 on my top 10, and I believe Mute was tied for number 7 with Mission Impossible. So that was this week's episode. Peace.